Well, folks, this weekend I told you that President Trump was changing the 2026 midterm battlefield. I gave you 4 things to watch. And Saturday night, unfortunately, we lost Senator Lindsey Graham. So Sunday, I broke down what that changes. And folks, in the middle of it, I told you there was a second thing to watch, and that just came due. 5 days ago, the DOJ sent a letter to election officials in all 50 states and the District of Columbia. It was a letter warning them in writing that they could face criminal prosecution if they knowingly keep non-citizens on their voter rolls. They gave every one of them 5 days. Well, that clock runs out today. Folks, you don't have to wait because the answers are already coming in, and they fall into exactly 3 categories. States that complied, states that defied, and a third category that maybe many of us didn't see coming, and I'm going to tell you that third category is where this kind of gets weird, okay? But we'll get to that. But if you watched yesterday's video, you know the board, okay? President Trump emptied out the Election Assistance Commission. His DOJ is in court with 30 states over voter rolls, and he let the biggest House bill in decades become law without signing it because the Senate still hasn't passed the Save America Act. And every one of those was a pressure move. And I told you the pattern. Trump doesn't make a move for what it does. He makes a move for what it makes his opponent do. So Harmeet Dillon, the head of the DOJ Civil Rights Division, put a 5-day clock on all 50 states. Okay, the letter itself was never the story, though. The responses were always going to be the story. And with that clock hitting 0 today, we already have enough answers to see the whole board. Now, the first category, these are the states that said yes, because there was more than a dozen. Texas, Florida, Ohio, Tennessee, a long list of others. They've already handed over their full registration files to DOJ. Full files, not summaries, not press releases. The actual statewide voter lists. And that matters because the DOJ has said in open court that it plans to run that data against the Department of Homeland Security's Citizenship Verification Database, which means for the first time, federal government can actually check whether the people on a state's rolls are citizens. Now, got to think about what those states just became. They became the president's proof. Every time a Democratic official now stands up and says these demands are impossible or dangerous or illegal, Trump can point to Texas, Florida, Ohio, and you can say they did it. What are you hiding? And that's not the accident here. It's not an accident at all, folks. That's the leverage that I was telling you about over the weekend. Now we have a second category, and that's the ones that were defiant. You have Arizona, and their Secretary of State said that his officials will only follow Arizona law. Okay. And I quote, not directions that come from a political rhetoric or intimidation. And you have Colorado, their Secretary of State called the letter an attempt to intimidate election officials. In Michigan, Nevada, same posture. We already comply with federal law, and we're not handing over our voters' private data. Now, this is what I need you to see. Okay? Every one of those officials is a Democrat. Every one of them just did exactly what President Trump needed them to do. Because remember what I told you. Trump's forcing the entire country to fight about election integrity before the first ballot of 2026 midterms are cast. He doesn't need these officials to comply. He needs them to refuse on camera or in writing. Because now, heading into the midterms, the president gets to ask the question in every battleground state, are your voter rolls clean? Why haven't you shown them? Why won't you show them? And that question doesn't need a court ruling or a conviction. It just needs to sit there in front of 60 million voters unanswered when the American people have demanded time and time again and voted and given the president a mandate for this. Now, before I show you the third category, this is the one that surprised everybody. Do me a favor. If you're getting something out of my breakdowns and you like the content, hit subscribe and tap the like button. It will help me. It tells YouTube to put me in front of more people, and I could use that help. All right, category 3. Okay. Because here's the part the media is going to try to bury. Some of the pushback is coming from Republicans. You have Utah's lieutenant governor, who's a Republican, the state's top elected official. He went public on the DOJ's letter. Truly bizarre behavior. Okay. Said that, I think it was a she actually, said she was being targeted for following state and federal law. And Utah is now one of the states the DOJ is going to be taken to court. A Republican state being sued by a Republican administration over voter rolls. And Utah's not alone. West Virginia, about as red as a state gets, already sent its answer in writing. They told the DOJ there's no evidence of non-citizens on their voter rolls, and that West Virginia law prohibits handing over their rolls to private information, to the federal government. So they answered the letter, and they still said no. Now, some of you are going to be tempted to call these governors rhinos and move on. And I'd ask you to slow down for a second, because this is the exact pattern I showed you. Okay. Remember what I said about the housing bill? Trump was willing to deny his own party a victory to force them into action. Okay. This is the same move. The pressure is not just aimed at Democrats. It's aimed at every elected official in every state, regardless of political affiliation. It's aimed at the people who think they can sit this fight out. Red state, blue state, doesn't matter. Okay, pick a side on the record before November. That's what the president wants. And that's what changing the battlefield looks like. Now, I'm going to tell you the truth on this channel all the time, okay? And I'm not in this for clicks. I'm not a rage bait. I don't even do this for money, honestly. If I get monetized by YouTube, maybe I'll buy some cool stuff. Who knows? But not what this is about, okay? So in court, the administration is losing, okay, on these voter roll fights. They've had 11 losses at the district level. And last month, the federal appeals court sided with Michigan. So if you're keeping score on lawsuits, the states are winning. But folks, I don't think that scoreboard matters, okay? The scoreboard that matters is what President Trump is putting up for the midterm, okay? Because every ruling, win or lose, pushes this fight one step closer to the Supreme Court. And that's where the limits of federal power over elections will finally get defined. And every week this goes on, election integrity moves closer to the center of the 2026 midterms, which is exactly where President Trump wants this. So, we have an updated watch list now. We got 3 things. First, we have to watch what happens today. Now that the 5-day clock has hit 0, to watch what the DOJ does. Pay attention to Harmeet Dillon, her X account. Okay. With the states that blew the deadlines, they're going to have to provide answers. More lawsuits is one thing. An actual criminal referral, well, that would change this fight overnight. And whatever they do, I'll break it down for you. Okay. Harmeet's an awesome person. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Second, watch the data. Okay, the DOJ has full voter rolls now for more than a dozen states. The moment they announce results from that DHS citizenship screening, whatever they are, that becomes the biggest election story in the country. And third, watch the Senate, because everything, the letters, the lawsuit, the unsigned housing bill, all of it points back to the Save America Act. And folks, the Senate itself just changed. Republicans are down to 52 seats after Lindsey Graham's passing. And Mitch McConnell, well, he's still recovering after, I guess, a fall at home, and there's no return date. So, and he put out a statement last night. So just said, I guess the process takes time and whatever. I got to get into that one. But what that means is on paper, the Republican majority right now is 51. So the president has built the entire case, and the only people left holding it up are 51 senators who say they support election integrity. But we're going to find that out. And hopefully it'll be within the next few weeks. And it'll be pretty clear whether they meant it or not. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think complying states prove the point, or do you think these court losses are something we should be worried about? And what do you make of the Republicans in states like Utah pushing back on the DOJ? Now, let me know. I read the comments. So, I'm J.R. Majewski, patriot, lover of America, and hopefully someone that can bring a little bit of sanity to you in this crazy political paradigm that we're facing. So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.